to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michelle, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Kenny.
Here.
Councilmember Cody.
Here.
Councilmember Zelinski.
Here.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Woodley.
Here.
Councilmember Gusted.
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Here.
DPW Director.
Here.
Planning and Zoning Administrator. Here. Public Safety Director.
Here.
And City Engineer.
Here.
Thank you. Citizen comments on agenda-related items. Is there anyone who would like to comment on tonight's agenda? Yes, please come forward, state your name and address.
My name is Kathy Fenstemacher. I live in the 2nd District at 302 4th Avenue. Mayor Kenny and City Council members, it's not easy to sit in City Council chambers and make decisions that will affect the employees and residents of Manistee. However, tonight you have an opportunity to choose an interim city manager. When making your selection, I hope you will consider selecting someone who understands the structure and workings of each department, has previous managerial experience, managerial education, and will utilize the years of accumulated knowledge that the employees have amassed over the years. Once you make your decision, it will be scrutinized and there will be opinions about why and who is chosen. I am confident that your choice will be a competent individual who will guide the employees and residents through this transition. And I would like to personally thank each and one of you for your time and service to the City of Manistee. It's a tough job. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. New business, consideration of potential interim city manager candidates. The mayor has requested a special meeting this evening to discuss and consider potential candidates for the position of interim city manager. At this time, council could take action on the potential hiring of an interim city manager and determine compensation for the position. The Personnel Committee was asked to look at various options when we look at an interim city manager. The Personnel Committee met and we were going through our various options for council to consider. The first option is looking at what the MML has to offer. They have a variety of service. They have a website. They will not do a personal search for us. However, we can put an ad onto their website. They also have a list of individuals that we could go through and review. Those individuals are either prior city managers who are either retired or they're in between jobs. A second option that we looked at was looking internally. And we looked at our staff members and see who met the qualification to fill in as a sitting manager. We identified 4 individuals: Michelle Wright, Ed Bradford, Dave Bachman, and Jeff McCullough. I did sit down with each one of them to discuss their interest in the position. However, I felt it best that council, if you choose or want to discuss something with them, that you can make those questions of them. And the third option that we came up with is looking on the outside the MML, who is listed there, and outside our staff members, looking for individuals who met the qualifications and who could possibly had the time to do that. We had one individual, Ben Bypass. We did meet with him only to see if he had an interest and the availability, which he did indicate both that he had. Out of those 3 options, are there any other options that the Personnel Committee did not come up with that council would like us to discuss tonight? No other options. We can go through the MML. Some of the pros and cons with them is the people that you're looking for, they're searching those sites. We can get a variety of applications, I'm sure, off that. There is a list of people that we can contact on there. I think the downside is the amount of time it would take for that search.
I think in addition to that, Mayor Kenny, if I may jump in a little bit, because I sat on that review committee with you, there was consideration not only for the time it may take, but potential additional costs on top of salary that could be there from relocation or housing, travel and incidentals that could also mount up pretty significantly when we're looking to put that person on for a short period of time. So there's obviously MML had some other obstacles and hurdles that we'd have to traverse in that respect as well. So I just wanted to add that as well.
And then on the internal candidates, I did provide all council members with all the information I had received with various individuals who provided their credentials who were positively interested in filling in that interim city manager's position. Did any council members have any kind of questions? I see all the members are here tonight. We can ask further questions. Mitch did provide a list of things that we're going to be looking at here in the next 6 months. I can just read off a few of them. Obviously, it's to hire the city manager. We have various agreements, hiring an assessor, looking at our NPDES permit applications, contract negotiations, the budget, strategic planning, street funds, the S2 SSES grant completion, water sewer bond projects. We have transferring the state building inspector back to the state of Michigan. We have the AES contract renewal. So he did provide a list of things that we will have to accomplish in the next 6 months or so. So looking at our candidates, we do have, were there any questions on the internals?
I guess I'd like to hear a little bit from a little spill from each candidate. Is that in the realm of what we're doing here?
That's what council, I will say that Mr. Ed Bradford did submit an email to me yesterday declining interest due to, he felt he was qualified, he just didn't feel he had the adequate amount of time that the position would need. However, our other internal candidates are here if you wanted to proceed and ask them.
I'm sure that several council members never met Ben Bypass before, don't even know what he even looks like. I'd like to see him come to the podium and at least say hi and address the council, and let the council address him. And of course, we know Dave, but I mean, equal time for both. Be great and ask questions, or at least know who you're voting for or who you're supporting.
All right, Mr. Bypass, would you care to come and introduce yourself to council and just kind of run?
Good evening, Ben Bypass, retired city manager, most recently from Traverse City. Prior to that, I served as city manager for Manistee about 13 and a half years. Got 35 years total in public administration background and experience. Lived in Manistee for the past 26 or 7 years, and I'm willing and able to serve. Open to questions.
Now, we ran through a list of various things that the city is looking at doing, and you've had experience in dealing with all kinds of the contracts and things that we're looking at.
I've had significant experience in each of the areas you listed. In fact, I likely negotiated the last NPDES permit for the city.
Is there any other questions? Mr. Bypass?
Mr. Bypass, you're not looking for a full-time position. This is a desirable temporary opportunity for you, right?
To be crystal clear, I am absolutely not looking for full-time employment. I am happily retired, but willing to serve on an interim basis.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Bypass?
No, I think everybody is well aware of all of his accomplishments for the city. I mean, One of the best things he's done for the city, I know, is, well, I wish you would have gone through some of the things like the fund balance at one time was $1,100, and he struggled through with the whole city and brought it up, and so now we have the luxury of what we have right now. I can personally say Mr. Bifus is very well capable of handling this, and if you want somebody for interim for 4 to 6 weeks, that's months, capable of handling everything, Mr. Bifus is well qualified.
Just a quick question, Mr. Bartos. On the time frame, we're probably looking at 6 months, but if it ekes into 7 to 9, is that all right, or?
It is. In my experience, 5 to 7 months is pretty typical to retain a new city manager by the time they have to provide notice to their host municipality and everything else. If it creeps longer than it does, at some point, if it goes beyond 8 or 9 or 10 months, then there needs to be a reason for that, because that would be atypical. But you can plan on me not abandoning my hometown.
Thank you. And your availability to start, Mr. Bifos, is readily?
Yes. I have no notice to give except to my wife.
And when we did sit down, you did make a compensation. You said the only thing you were looking for would be something equal to what the current manager is making with be considered an employee
Yes.
with no benefits.
No health insurance benefits, all the same basic wage-based benefits to FICA and everything that goes with that, but something similar to the incumbent.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Bypass?
No, only on his behalf, one closing comment that I got to make is when he was up at Traverse City, his first council evaluation was one word: excellent. And I don't know how we could ever get a better candidate than we're looking at. That's my opinion.
Any other questions the council would like to ask Mr. Bypass?
Thank you for your consideration.
Mm-hmm. There was any internal? We had one, I know, internal candidate that was interested. Dave, did you bring forward?
Your Honor, as you know, I am interested. I submitted the package. Mr. Bifus is a tough act to follow. He has some good experience. There is a difference between him and I. I have been here for the last 17 years. He left here 15 years ago. I am familiar with the current employee base, current projects, and current department heads. The one unique difference between Mr. Bifus and I is this. He absolutely does not want a full-time job. I'm not ruling out a full-time job. If I get appointed as interim city manager and we work well together, I can guarantee you my name will be on your list as an applicant for a full-time job. It gives you an opportunity to evaluate me, to see if we work well together, and make a decision if I have some long-term viability to the city of Manistee as a city manager. If I don't, I'm very happy being called a safety director. Those are the things that separate the two of us.
And you did provide a list of things you thought compensation that would have to have with the additional responsibilities. And
I did.
in the interim, what would happen with both the fire department and the police department?
If I was elevated as city manager, I would make my deputy chief acting chief of the fire department to fill that role. I would make Steve Schmeling acting chief of the police department. I then would advance my schedule to hire my part-time person who's going to fill Detective Riley's schedule. I'd hire him sooner because Riley doesn't leave till May 1st. I'd hire him now to fill that slot. I'd promote my detective sergeant next week rather than 3 weeks from now to fill that gap. So the backfill flows seamlessly up through the ranks on both sides. And I have complete faith in Keith Darling to run the fire department and Steve Schmeling to run the police department.
Is there any other questions of Mr. Bachman, Chief Bachman, that council has?
Thank you.
I also provided, based on the information that Chief Bachman provided, with the compensations that would have to go down into the other departments by raising them up within the other departments. We did put a estimated dollar value to each one of those. If we went with the MML, we assume that we probably still have to pay a weekly base pay of our current city manager, which is about $1,900 a week. If you look out 6 months at a cost of $45,600, but anybody that we get out of the area, we'd probably, 6 months, sorry, we'd have to probably pay travel reimbursement to that individual, especially if they did not relocate into Manistee. Same with Mr. Byfoss, we would offer him the same amount of weekly base pay of the $1,900 for the 6 months. That again is $45,600. However, there would be no travel costs since he is a current city resident. Looking at if we went with the internal candidates, and I assume there's no other internal candidates that are considering. Looking at what Chief Mockman provided on his thoughts of what he thought proper compensation would be for himself and for his 2 departments, the total wages for that 6 month is $33,600, but then you would have to add in the additional benefits that would take that cost up to $148,000. Again, there would be no travel reimbursement, and under Mr. Byfoss and Chief Bachman, they could each take over that role right away. So those are basically, I think, the 2 candidates, viable candidates that council is looking at, unless there's somebody else, again, that council would like to look at further.
I just have a quick question. I understand Mr. Byfoss, I'm probably saying that wrong, I apologize. Is, if Mr. Bachman, say Mr. Bachman, we elevate these other people, their wages elevate with them, is that what I hear you saying?
Correct. Yes. There would have to be some compensation there. And Chief Bachman, he's a very qualified individual. But a lot of these projects that we have, I also think he will have to lean heavily on some of our staff in that respect. Probably more so than Mr. Bypass, but that's just my guess. It does disrupt 2 departments that we have to backfill for leaders. So those are some of the considerations that we have to think about as well. Whereas Mr. Bypass can step in with not as much impact to the staff.
Well, I think we have a good opportunity here. When we're facing an opportunity challenge, but here we have city manager, and then we also have an intern individual at once. It'd be great to have Mr. Byfuss in the lead and have Mr. Bachman learn off of Mr. Byfuss. And then when the time comes to put in the application, we fully be able to take it and learn all this stuff. You know, this want list, I mean not want list, but this priority list and all that, has a lot of stuff, especially with DEQ and stuff like that. And I think Mr. Bachman could probably learn a lot and increase his potential of being a future city manager for the city of Manistee by learning from Mr. Byfoss. I think we have a perfect opportunity on how to build and move on. Get a different perspective of what we're doing right now, this is what we're after. I think the challenges are there, and I think the opportunities are there. We just have to make.
It's my understanding that Chief Bachman plans to retire in 2017, is that correct?
Your Honor, if I'm the public safety director in 2017, I would retire, yes. If I was offered a job as city manager, I would work here until I was 65 years old, which is 5 additional years. If I was hired as a full-time city manager, I would commit to the city of Manistee no longer than my 65th year. I'm 60 this year. I wouldn't retire in 2017 if I was city manager. If you made me city manager full-time, we worked together and found that we had a relationship, I would not run for sheriff as I told people I wanted to do. This opportunity was not on the table when all those discussions were being held. This opportunity is now here. If we find that you want me to interim city manager, if we work well together, if you hire me as your full-time city manager, I will continue to work for the city of Manistee until my 65th year, at which time I'll leave.
Thank you. I think we hire an interim city manager, and we still need to go through the process of looking for a city manager.
That's fine, I'm just saying, I was just, my thoughts were, yes, we have to go through the whole thing, but at the same token, I thought Mr. Bachman could.
I feel like we're blessed to have a couple of real great candidates, and I feel that that's a great position to be in and not have to, rush into a decision because we're in a corner. And to have two really qualified candidates, I do believe we're blessed in that respect. And with that being said, I would have to agree with Councilmember Cody in a sense that it would be nice to have a compacted, deliberate mentorship and give Chief Bachman an opportunity to learn some of those things that Mr. Bifos might bring to the table, and then obviously during the consideration for the full-time position, he would be exposed to a lot more of those things that he may not have been exposed to up to this point. And I think that would be a helpful asset for him to have all that exposure. And as he said, knowledge of his current staff, both not only from the public safety department, but also from the city's perspective. And I think that really would give him an opportunity to flourish and be a solid candidate for the full-time position. And I think that's a neat opportunity to be in. And obviously give them both an opportunity to help the city through this time.
I just want to be clear, and I don't want to mislead Chief Bachman. We're here to look at an interim city
Absolutely.
manager.
Right.
And to sit here and say that, well, in the meantime, Mr. Bifos can be training Chief Bachman to become a good candidate for city manager is somewhat misleading.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, all I was saying is that he could get an opportunity to learn more with an intent of applying for the job. No guarantee by any means. Obviously, that's still got to follow through the hiring process. But up to this point, I never had any indication in my experience with Mr. Bachman that he was interested in this role. And up to this point, there was no need to show interest in this role because the vacancy wasn't there. So now that it's there and he's shown interest in it, I think from an employee development side, whether it's a department director or a supervisor or some frontline employee, I think we need to treat that desire with respect, and if we can offer opportunities for development, that we would embrace that. But again, with no guarantees, and I completely agree with you, Mayor Kenny, that it would not offer him the position, but at least give him the opportunity to develop and be considered for the position.
So what I hear, I'm just going to repeat back what I think I hear. This position is temporary. And we're going to be re-looking at it no matter who gets.
We're going to be moving forward with options.
Searching for a
full-time
full-time
city
person.
manager, yes. Is there any other questions or discussions? Does council feel they have enough information?
I think we have two excellent candidates to serve as interim city manager, but I'm going to say I'm disappointed to wait until tonight to receive the information. It was a public body that met, the personnel committee. It should have been an open meeting act, posted notice, and people should have had an opportunity to participate and digest some of the facts that we just received prior to this meeting.
It was council that directed the personnel committee to meet to come up with options, which is what we did do, and we brought these options forward for full disclosure and full discussion.
I understand it, but not as a closed meeting.
Closed meeting.
Normally our meetings are posted. People have an opportunity to attend that are not on the committers.
We also talked about that since there are 3 members on the personnel committee, that having 4 would be in violation. We have council meeting on all kinds of committees throughout the month. Again, this council directed the personnel committee to meet, which they did do. And they discussed, we went through the options that we talked about in that meeting. We brought everything forward that we talked about.
Okay.
Is there any information that you need to help make a
I
decision?
asked for information earlier in the week from one of the committee members, and I was told I'd get it tonight with everybody else. I would like to have the information to go over the numbers and satisfy myself that they were accurate. Again, I say there's two very good candidates, and I'm not disputing that we have good candidates. I'm just disappointed in the process.
Oh, yeah.
We got to.
So is there any further information that you need to help make a decision?
Who's on the personnel?
Not at this time.
Is there any other questions, since both candidates are here, that you need?
I get on just a parting shot here to the discussion that the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem just had. Because this takes what it is. It's also a need why we need a professional for the intern. Kind of straighten out the chaos that is going on right now.
And that's why everything was brought forward.
And that's my opinion.
So I guess from here, since we have two candidates, I guess we'll ask Michelle to go through council and ask, and you can state which person you'd like to fill in as interim city manager. Is that agreeable?
Fine.
Ultimately, I would think that you will need a motion at some point. And when you're ready for that, I think the motion likely should be a motion to maybe delegate that to, I don't know, would it be to the city attorney and maybe another member of staff to negotiate the terms of an agreement. Obviously, tonight, you wouldn't be hiring anybody tonight, but directing staff to discuss with whatever candidate council decides upon to negotiate out the terms of the agreements. Just add that. But council would act, I mean, we elect people to commissions and to boards through a process where we're casting votes, or to the mayor pro tem, or to the mayor. This, to me, is something that would be appropriate for a motion.
Okay.
Someone to make a motion, and if it's supported, and a vote on it. If that motion doesn't pass, then certainly if there's another candidate, another motion can be made. That would be my suggestion.
My understanding is, right, I'll make a motion to support Ben Bypass for the interim position of city manager, for the city of Manistee.
And just
I need a second.
Is that to direct staff to negotiate terms then?
Yes.
Is there support? Is there support to elect Mr. Ben Bypass as interim city manager and cashier? I have a motion by Councilmember Cody, support by Councilmember Whitliff to appoint Mr. Ben Bypass as interim city manager and direct our city attorney to negotiate employment terms. Is there any further discussion? Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Whitlow?
Yes.
Councilmember Gustet?
Yes.
Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Cody?
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
And Councilmember Goodspeed?
No.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to concerns and comments, citizen comment. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Citizens in attendance shall be recognized by the mayor for comments, which are limited to 5 letters. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Is there anyone who'd like to comment? So now we'll move on to officials and staff. City clerk,
Nothing, Your Honor.
city manager.
Just quickly, Your Honor, I was anticipating attending the April 7th, 2015 council meeting. However, this special meeting has allowed me an opportunity to thank the community. For the past 13 years, it's been my honor and pleasure to serve the citizens of Manistee as city manager. This is a task that I have never taken lightly. Each and every time, each and every day that I've made a decision, I've contemplated what was best for the community. This job requires difficult-to-be decisions to be made every single day. Many of these decisions result in me saying no to a particular citizen request or interest. Some of these citizens have felt that I have trespassed against them, and there were times when I felt that some individuals have also trespassed against me. To these individuals, please forgive me for my trespasses, and I forgive those who have trespassed against me. The highlight of my career has been working with talented and dedicated coworkers and council members. As you move forward with recruiting a new city manager, remember to look at the same qualities that we have always tried to instill upon our children of integrity, ethical behavior, honesty, and quality of character. Let these be the guides for you when you select the next city manager. These qualities are what the city of Manistee residents deserve in both their city manager and their elected officials, and they should accept nothing less. Manistee has never been a job, it has been my family's home. Thank you.
City attorney.
Your Honor, if I could, just on a personal note, I know I'm speaking for my partner, Richard Wilson, certainly for Bruce Gockman. I've talked to him recently and myself, in saying that it's been a pleasure working with Mitch. He's always been just a consummate professional in our dealings with him, and certainly, as I know council does as well, wish him the best. Thank you.
DPW director,
Nothing, Your Honor.
public safety director,
Just thank you for your consideration this evening, Mayor. I appreciate it.
planning and zoning. Nothing, Your Honor. City engineer.
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Councilmember Polley.
Nothing at this time.
Councilmember Zawinski.
Yes, I have one thing. DPW has been taking quite a hit about these meters that we're finding that don't work right, so we don't have them. Let's not kill the messengers, okay? I think they're trying to do the best they can to correct the situation.
Councilmember Goodspeed. Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
I would like to thank Mr. Deese for his years of service to the city of Manistee and wish him well in his future endeavors. Thank you, Mitch.
Councilmember Whitliff.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
And again, thank you, Mitch, for your continued service, and good luck in the future.
I do have one thing. The actions of this over the last month has created a lot of rumors out in our community, which has created a lot of unrest amongst our city staff, and that relates to who's council going to get next or eliminate. And I just want to help dispel those rumors and want to get out for discussion. If council is happy with our current staff, with their performance, or if there's some issues that we need to be addressing. If we're perfectly happy with our current staff and their job performance, is that an accurate statement from this council?
I think we're very fortunate to have the chief we have.
Hopefully that will help our staff and eliminate some of these rumors that are going through town, that council is very satisfied with the performance of our city staff. And I appreciate their work, and I want to thank City Manager Mitch Deitch. It's been a pleasure working with you over the years, and I wish you the best of luck. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.